Hey everybody, this is Ghost with Blades and Blasters. Going to be doing a new wave of character creation videos. Starting off on my end, it's going to be for the Demon Gate system. We're going to do one video for every character class in Demon Gate. A little background on Demon Gate: it is a system developed by actually one of our members named Rogue. You can probably see several campaigns up there. Blood Money is the most recent. Before that, I believe Eternal Midnight was the last one we had, and we've done some one-shots here and there about it as well. We're going to start with the core rulebook. We're not going to use any of the additional character creation rules. This can be bog standard character creation. If there are more specific requests, we can look at what that looks like. But for now, we're just going to go through the basic core rulebook character creation process. Looking through, we will make sure that there are links posted for where to find Demon Gate. It can be found on DriveThruRPG or through ArcanumSyndicate.com. Links will be put in with the video for you to follow. So we're going to start out with the Alchemist. As you can see here, Alchemist is a magic user. A lot of what they do is what you would expect archetypally from an alchemist. They create potions, they create salves, which lets them fill a lot of different roles in the party. They also know some magic. They're not particularly skilled with it at the beginning, but they do come with one spell, Ignite Endows, which is a pretty valuable spell. Start small fires, put fires out, and you can also use it in combat. It doesn't scale as well as some other spells do in the system, because other spells, most of them that are combat oriented, tend to scale with level. You get multipliers for it, so a level 1 mage using a firebolt or a fire sphere as it's called in this just does, I believe, d6 times level, so d6 times 1, whereas a level 12 mage uses it d6 times 12. So magic does scale differently, but Ignite and Douse is not. They have several different character class abilities that revolve around using alchemy, whether it's to create things that are beneficial or create alchemy bombs and throw them. They can throw alchemical potions and bombs farther than anyone else can once they reach certain levels, and their potions are infinitely more effective than people who are not primary alchemist class. As we see here, the primary attributes are intelligence and willpower. Since there's only 2 primary attributes, that leaves you with a lot of flexibility to put attributes elsewhere. I will go more over attributes, not so much in depth. Making this assumes that you are, at least in passing, familiar with the system. We will go step by step for the system, and I'll explain some basic things about attributes as we come along, but I won't spend too much time on those. You see here they have skills for combat, sorcery, throwing, alchemy, basically everything they need to throw bombs and use spells. And then they have character skills for alchemy, of course, 2 levels in it, which most classes usually just get 1, even if they specialize in something. So this is pretty nice to have. 2 levels of alchemy means you're less likely to botch, and alchemy fumbles are a real thing. You can blow your face up or get mutated. They know about creatures, crystals, and plants for their formulas. Read and write, because you have to keep recipes, and thaumaturgy is an understanding of magical properties of items and things like that. Starting equipment: 2 Witchfire potions, 2d6 times 2 fire damage whenever they strike something, and they have an area effect, so these are just bombs basically that set people on fire. They have a spell book for their 1 spell, but you can learn more spells later, as you do have sorcery. An alchemist bag for their equipment. This comes with some components, I believe, as well, or also at least stowage for your components. Healing potion, yeah, valuable. Alchemists can fill a variety of roles. They do damage, they can buff, they can heal, they have a lot of different capabilities they can do. And they also come with formulas. You do need formulas to perform alchemy, or it gives you bonuses as well, certain levels of it. So you get the Witchfire one, and you can get 1 more from a choice of these. For our particular setup here, and for most players who are trying Alchemist for the first time in Demon Gate, I would say Healing Potion is your best bet. Unless you're magic heavy with your party, I would maybe consider mana, but healing is always useful. This chi potion is more for martial arts types classes or mutants. That's something that comes in one of the supplement books, the companion. And then Bane Salve is poison. Can be useful. I think it's the least useful of all these to pick at the beginning. But it could be good if you have a sneaky type, I guess. And then you start with D6 silver. The way money's set up in this game, it is bits as basically pennies, coppers as nickels, silver as 25-cent pieces, and then gold as dollars. So D6 silver is a lot higher than most other classes. Most other classes are going to have either coppers or bones. Most classes have bones, which are bits, bones, bits, creds. They're all one, basically, of pennies. This means that you can get a few quarters to start with, which buys you a fair bit early on if you need food and things like that, which you can use this to buy other equipment after the fact. So now that we've gone through, I've went over my Ignite Douse already. Now that I've gone through, it's kind of what the Alchemist starts with at base level. Let's go ahead and go through character creation itself. So basically, first steps you're going to do is choose your character race. There's not any particular race I think that's more suited or less suited to play an Alchemist, because no classes give you any kind of bonuses to intelligence or willpower. I think most of them give negatives. I think some give negatives, but I don't think there's any pure buffs to it among any of the races. So I say Terran, because for Terrans, if we take a look at them, Terrans are basically standard humans. Terrans get no negatives or attribute modifications to their attributes, unlike other races, but they do get an additional skill slot for a combat, character, or language skill. So I'm going to copy paste this from the PDF, and I'm going to put this here in the bio. This is done through Roll20. This way I can have everything I need to see right here. I don't have to bounce back and forth between the book and this for everything. And then they also, this second part, the Soulfire, that does help with staying alive at certain portions, and keeps you from getting mutated to an extent, having the soul points, but it doesn't come into play in most circumstances. So intuition is the one that's really nice for humans. Extra skill slot is massive in the beginning. So we picked human, that's our basic start. We see this information here: 5 to 6 feet tall, 100 to 180 pounds, D6 on arm, 3 movement, D6 plus body. That's an important one for starting hit points. So that is that portion handled. So we choose a character class. We've chosen, we're going to do Alchemist. And these Demon Gate sheets on Roll20 are fantastic. They're just recently updated, I think a couple of months ago. So you can pull things direct from them. It's easy to create macros with them. So definitely recommend playing Demon Gate at any location, on a table or virtual tabletop, but virtual tabletop has great functionality as well. You distribute 100 attribute points to attributes no higher than 18, no lower than 3, or add 46 but drop the lowest. So we're just gonna add everything together. Now I will take this portion of the video. If you've seen any of my other videos for character creation through Blazing Blasters, you know I always tell you to make the character concept you want before you optimize it, because even if you make a really strong character, you're not going to enjoy playing them if you don't enjoy the concept. So I'm always going to tell you to make the character you would like to play first, and then build that. I tend to try to make everything optimized for my characters, just because I like to, if we're in a heroic setting, I like to not suck. But there's charm in not being good at everything, and you're not going to be good at everything in this game. This is not there are some skill monkey type characters, but I think this is a game about specializing and trying to be very good at a few things and decent at other things, rather than being good at everything but master of nothing. So that out of the way, let's go ahead and distribute attributes. So we're not going to do the roll keep. 46k3 can be fun to see what you get, but we're going to go ahead, and this is for just making a standard Alchemist build. So no higher than 18, no lower than 3, so it's 100 points. So I believe what you can do is you can do 3 attributes of 18, 16, and then the rest of them are 10s for a balanced approach where you don't necessarily have any weaknesses. Our primary attributes are going to get 18s regardless. We're going to go 18 intelligence, 18 willpower, and the way attributes work, they give you bonuses to your skill rolls. It's your base deciding factor for your skills. So any skills that are tied to intelligence, for example, will start at D8 plus D6 if they don't have skill levels. We'll go over skills more later. But just looking at this here, you also get some other things as a bonus. So intelligence affects how long it takes for you to learn spells. You see 2d6 weeks here. If we had, say, 4, it would take 4 years to learn one spell. So intelligence is really important for a class that may go into magic later. We might not be as super combat heavy as good as a mage will be, but we are still expected to do some things on our turn that may not involve throwing bombs, and it may not always be good for us to throw bombs if we have, say, a fighter, a warrior on our party engaged in melee. We don't really want to set him on fire necessarily. So more precise spell use or using buffs and things like that might be better. Spell effect is a flat bonus to your spell damage, so for this particular character, it will be d6 plus 1 if he had Fire Sphere, for example. So it would be plus 1 to any spell effect. And then languages. Languages is useful in the RP context. The more languages you know, you could hear things that, as a human, other races might not expect you to know anything other than the standard Cawthon, or basically common language. So this allows you to learn 3 other languages at character creation. Pretty useful. Mental defense protects you against mental spells, so if people are trying to mind control you or use gray magic, which is psionic, against you, you get a plus 1 to your defense roll, your d20 defense roll for that. Fortitude is soak for mental damage, so if you get hit by a mental attack, you take 2 less damage, having an 18 willpower. So those 2 are set up. Now we have a lot of different ways we can go from this point, because alchemists are kind of flexible in terms of where they put the other stats. One thing I will say about Demon Gate is that it's very deadly, even at early levels. If a low-level enemy is using a bone axe, for example, I think it's 2d6 damage. Even if they don't have any modifiers, if they explode twice, or even once, on one of their d6 dies, they're doing probably double-digit points of damage, and that's enough to knock you down, and then the next attack might kill you. So Demon gets very deadly early, and it stays fairly deadly, because with the continuum rule, that being that, basically when dice roll their highest die, so on a d12 if you roll 12, for example, on a continuum rule, you roll another die and add to it. So you roll another d12 and add to it, and if you just kept rolling d12s, you just keep throwing damage in, and you can quickly just get, completely destroyed. So it's very deadly, so I like to have a high body score in a lot of classes. So we'll go 18 in the body here. That'll give us 1 toughness, so that's 1 flat soak against all physical damage. And most other damages, unless something specifically bypasses toughness. So we've got 3 sets of 18 that gives us 1 set of 16 if we want a more balanced approach, where we're good at several things but not completely terrible at other ones. That leaves us with several different skills here. Attributes to choose from. Another good thing to do in Demon Gate is not get hit at all, rather than have high HP, because body's tied to HP at base level anyway, and then every time you raise it, you gain more HP. But dexterity determines your any bonuses to your defense roll and any bonuses to your initiative roll. A couple ways to not die is to go before your enemies do, and also to not get hit when they swing at you. So we're going to put our 16 in Dex. You could really put these other 2 anywhere else you wanted, if you want to be better at something, particularly if you want to have more of a talker, Alchemist, a little bit of a face, or if you wanted to be very wary, or even if you wanted to be strong for whatever reason, you could go to any one of these other attributes with these 2. But for us, we're going to make sure that our defense is decent. So this also increases our movement. Dexterity is a pretty important stat, attribute to have. Increased movement lets us get places that we might need to throw bombs from. Initiative, again, lets us act before enemies, and defense helps keep us from getting hit in the first place. So the last 3 stats we have are all going to be 10s, and this evens out to 100. As you can see, we don't really get any bonuses anywhere else, but we're not terrible at it either. This is considered baseline average for a level 1 NPC in the games to have 10 in strength. So we're not any worse than any normal person with any of these other attributes, but we are exceptionally better than the average person with the 4 that we selected. So that's all set. Those are our attributes picked. Now we're going to modify attributes based on racial modifiers. As we looked at for Terrans, they don't have any attribute modifiers for the Terran race. So we can go right past that. Fill in attribute mods and stats. Already done. The sheet already takes care of that for us. Fill in the skills according to character class template. So, looking at the Alchemist template. And we can fill all this in easily as well because the sheet has all the skills on it. So unarmed combat's already where it needs to be. Sorcery is not anywhere on the sheet that we can see, but we can just add a combat specialization there. That is typically reserved for if we specialize in certain kind of weapons, but just so we can have it on the page, that works out fine. Per weapon proficiency throwing, we need that to throw our bombs, of course. And then alchemy, we get a +1 to throwing alchemically related agents, so throwing potion bombs and things like that. We have a +1 to hit with them. So that's all set. Then character skills, these are non-combat skills. We've got alchemy at 2, which is extremely good value because normally it costs 20 cycle points. Cycle points are used for buying skills, for leveling HP, mana, things like that. It has a variety of uses, and those are, you get those from completing sessions, surviving, and doing cool things within the session. But baseline starting, this is a 20 skill point skill, or 20 cycle point skill, and we get it base level. So this is great value for that, and we get 2 ranks of it. So our alchemy is very good, starting at base 1, better than anyone else's would be if they purchased it outside of their class. Creature lore is at 1. And these skills help the alchemist be useful in a lot of different capacities because they allow him to identify useful items not only for himself but for the party. So alchemists can get a lot of great work done as characters in RP, in combat. They're fantastic in and out of combat. Plant lore, read and write. And then the last one, where is read and write? There it is. Thaumaturgy, for identifying magical items. Very useful to not pick up something that's cursed. We have no other skill slots. Some classes have extra skill slots which allow you to personalize it a bit, but being that the alchemist gets us a very focused skill set for his particular craft, it makes sense he doesn't have any extra skill slots. That said, we do have an extra one from being a Terran starting. You can go a lot of different ways with this. You could do something for RP purposes. You could, again, if you wanted to make a face character, that could be useful for, you know, any one of these charisma-based skills. There's a lot of different ways you could go. In this case, we're going to go with green magic. Reason being because we have a magic spell that is Ignite and Douse. Magic is very powerful in this game, but also very volatile. If you fumble a magic roll, you could get an aneurysm in-game and die. You could open up a portal to demon realms. You could summon creatures by accident. You could set yourself on fire. You could set your friends on fire. There's any number of things you could do that could go wrong if you fail. Also, when you cast magic, you're using mana, you're using a resource, and you want that resource to accomplish something. If you're not hitting, then you're not accomplishing anything. It's wasted action. So sometimes the dice are like that, but you want to minimize failure rate, in my opinion. Being skilled with green magic allows us to cast our base level spell, and green magic as a school of magic is really powerful anyway. So if we learn more spells from that, we have a lot of different control abilities, we have more damage spells, we have some buffs, we have some healing, I think, even in green magic. So there's a lot of different ways you can go with green magic. It's basically nature magic, and that's a really powerful thing to have. So that's where our extra skill slot's going to go, is in green magic. So we've done the skills. Now we buy skills with skill slots. We've already done that. It's done. Choose languages based on your race and intelligence attribute. I'm not going to go through that. There are a lot of different languages you could choose from. You start with whatever one your race is. It's usually a good idea to choose Cawthon, or whatever the Terran base race is, or base language is, because most of the inhabitants of the world you're playing Koth speak Kothan. Even ones that are not Terran speak Kothan generally. But you can take other ones to know, because you can read and write in that language, so it's very useful for with RP and investigation. Those languages are great to choose from. There are many different ones. You could probably talk with your GM to see where you're going to kind of be, and then if you wanted to make someone who is more familiar with the area, or you could just make somebody who has esoteric knowledge. Either way, that can kind of go dependent on your flavor. Racial abilities, if applicable, we've already put those in our bio. We can always put those in our sheet later. Starting equipment found in your class template. Copy the items to the packet. So, for our gear, we'll roll the silver right now. 1 silver, so not the best, but here we are. And then what do alchemists have? Witchfire. 2 of them, so we can put that as our primary weapon. We get a +1 from our specialization in it. It does 2d6. It's times level. The way that everything is set up, you can just use multipliers, so you just do 2d6 times 2 here, and if we roll it in this game, mine's some multipliers and things like that. It's already set in, but if we set it up in the damage itself, it will automatically take care of it without us having to put any additional multiplier in. So 2d6 times 2. There you go. So that's set up. Gear, you can just put this in our equipment for the backpack. Spellbook. Alchemist bag. Healing potion. Spelling. Formulas. Witch fire. Healing potion, which allows us to create both of those whenever we have time. And that's all set. What's next? Your figure starting money. We kind of skipped ahead and did that already, but it's all kind of in there with the equipment. Choose your character's religious beliefs. That's more of a flavor thing. It's up to you. If you have a particular concept in mind, you can look at the gods and goddesses and pantheons and see what you like there. Fill in your spells. So we've only got one. It's quite a good one. Ignite and Dow. It's got a lot of utility in and out of combat. Go to the Mystic page here. Ignite and Dows. And then we'll go down to spells. Green spells. Ignite and Dows right here. And it instantly sets people on fire. That's a really huge thing. So this spell, the initial cast is always 2d6 damage. It's rather low base damage, but it does set the enemy on fire. And unless they put that fire out, it gets incrementally worse and starts multiplying because the fire spreads. So next round they're on fire, 2d6 times 2. Third round, 3d6 times 3, so on and so forth. Dows, what will douse out the same area. So there you go. And spells you can cast, I believe it's your willpower in inches. So each inch is represented with 5 feet in game on the tabletop and virtual tabletop. So we'll go ahead and put this in. So it's a very useful spell, long range spell, and it may not do the most damage, but you can think of very creative ways to use it that can really put in some work on opponents. So casting time 1. That's the amount of actions it takes. It is instantly cast and lasts over a period of duration. Toughness and fire resistance and protection. It's also a cheap spell. 5 drain. 5 mana drain is very simple to manage. +1 to hit. And the effect is 2d6. And then that's something that you and the GM will just have to keep track of. Okay, this is the first round. Second round is 2d6 times 2. So that is spells. taken care of. Ghost Saga and character traits. So we're not going to go through character traits because that's, again, subjective in flavor, but basically what character traits do is gives you more base level Saga to play with. Everybody starts with 5. Saga points are used to upgrade skills, to increase HP, increase mana, to purchase skill slots, to upgrade attributes if you have enough of it. There's a lot of different things. Increase resistances to certain types of damage. So, all very useful. So, spending Saga, we're just going to take the baseline 5. We're not going to use any traits. Disposition tables is an optional one. That's if you want to just kind of roleplay a certain kind of different kind of character than you used to, challenge yourself. In that aspect, you can roll disposition and see what you end up with. Sometimes it may work with your party, sometimes it doesn't. Physical beauty. This does have a mechanical use. If you look good, people like you. We all know that. If you don't, then people don't. So it has an impact on charisma-based rolls. So you get 3 rolls and you get to choose whatever you want. We didn't roll anything crazy, so we'll take the highest one. That's basically just average looking. No benefits, no negatives to charisma-based rolls. Alternating stats necessary if anything was changed. 2 points to each action point category and frenzy pool. So frenzy is used to provide additional actions during combat rounds. Burning a frenzy basically allows you to do another 1 action. Burning 2 frenzy lets you do 2 other actions. You can only burn up to 2 frenzy in a round for combat-related actions. Everybody starts, unless otherwise stated, with 2 in all their action pools. Monks start with 3, but we can get to them at another point. But this is a lot of actions you can take before you go into frenzy and your turn ends. That's all set. Fill in ranks, levels, and dice for each character skill. It's already all set up because the sheet's awesome. Random name. Configure hit points as well. So hit points, we had D6 plus body is what a baseline human gets. This is your starting hit points. So D6 plus 18, 22. Pretty good. Mana is intelligence plus willpower plus any modifiers. Since we have an 18 in willpower, as we will see on the attributes page for mental attributes, 18 gives us a plus 4 mana adjustment. So we start with 36 plus 4, so 40. For hit points, because we have an 18 body also provides additional base hit points. At 18 we get plus 4 on top of what we rolled, so we have 26 hit points. If body ever increases, you add this amount of hit points to your new hit point total. So body is a useful stat to increase hit points, kind of in a passive sense. You don't have to spend Saga to do it, because Saga to hit points is 1-to-1. Hit points are important because without them you die, but it is a rather steep cost to pay in Saga because you're kind of deciding over character advancement versus character survivability. It's a tough balance to maintain, so it's kind of up to you to decide. Chi we're probably never going to use, but we will fill it out for the sake of it. It's body willpower. As far as I'm aware, you don't get the willpower adjustment to Chi, so I think that's just 18, 18, 36, 36. So we have all that set. And then the last thing is backstory. So we're not going to make anything for this. This is kind of a template character to give you an idea of how to make it. We will spend the Saga points. I'll tell you my rationales for it. So Saga, the way you spend Saga on skills, which is what I'm going to spend it on, because 26 HP is pretty good. We're out of the one-hit zone for the most part, unless we're spectacularly unlucky, and we're also usually going to be at the back of the fighting anyway for the early levels and beyond. So we can be a bit risky with that if we position ourselves right, if we're smart. So we're going to spend our points on character skills. I'm going to increase alchemy because to 3 by spending 3 Saga points, because that's our niche. That's what we do. If we don't focus on our alchemy early and get it to higher levels later, we're not going to be able to take advantage of all the awesome alchemy based potions and bombs, buffs, even brewing if you want to get into that, for RP and flavor purposes, make money, things like that. Alchemy is super profitable and super useful across the entirety of any campaign, and you will make everybody else's lives easier, including your own, by going heavy into this. As far as the last 2 Saga points, looking through what we have, plant lore. A lot of alchemical reagents are plants. understanding how to find those plants and being able to locate them in forests or wherever you are, caves, things like that, fungi. It's going to be important to getting ingredients together. Also identifying them in markets whenever you're shopping. So we're going to spend our other 2 saga points in there. So we spent all our saga. And this is a basic alchemy build for the Demon Gate role-playing game system. That's pretty much everything for this one. If you have any questions, comments for further videos, or you want to know more about Demon Gate, feel free to contact us, reach out to us in the comment section below. And if you want more updates on Blades and Blasters content, Demon Gate content, or most of your other favorite RPGs, things that we keep up with, go ahead and ring the bell, subscribe. And that's it for me. I will see you later. Thanks for watching.